number 9 Madryn Street, the Dingle, Liverpool, birthplace of Ringo Starr. He was born here on the 7th of July 1940 and was the only child of Richie and Elsie Starkey. But when he was just a boy, his parents split up. His dad moved back in with his own parents down the end of the street, and Mrs. Starkey eventually swapped houses with a friend of hers for a few reasons: to get away from her ex-husband, too close for comfort, to do this friend a favour because she had 3 children rather than 1, and for the cheaper rent. So they moved just across the road to Admiral Grove, but this was the birthplace of Ringo Starr. We're at Oxford Street Maternity Hospital, the birthplace of John Lennon. Could be where it all began. On the 9th of October 1940, this is where John came into the world. Some stories say he was born during an air raid in the Second World War. All of the Beatles were born during the war, but not in John's case. Sometime during his stay in hospital, there was an air raid and the cots had to be put underneath the metal beds to keep them safe, just in case there was a direct hit. Now, Auntie Mimi was the first person to see John after his mother, and as soon as she saw this little baby, she picked him up in her arms. She looked at him and felt responsible for him straight away, and of course it was Mimi who ended up bringing John up from the age of 5. But this is where it all began for John. Oxford Street Maternity Hospital in Liverpool city centre. Walton Hospital, the birthplace of Paul McCartney, on the 18th of June 1942. Now, Paul was given a nice welcome into the world because his mother was a midwife on the ward here, so he was given special treatment. They were given their own private room and everything, which was unheard of back then. Now, when his father first saw this baby, his firstborn, he went back home and cried because he thought he'd never seen such an ugly baby in all his life, and you could not call Paul McCartney ugly nowadays by any standards. But this was it. Walton Hospital, birthplace of Paul McCartney on the 18th of June 1942. George Harrison was born here in 12 Arnold Grove on the 25th of February 1943. Whereas Ringo just lived with his mother in a 2-up, 2-down house, George lived with his mother, his father, his 2 brothers and his sister. So it was a bit of a tight squeeze. Number 12, Arnold Grove, the birthplace of George